Sure, look, either way, Caitlin Clark's going to be better than last year. Touch wood, barring injury, it's likely we see the greatest ever season for a point guard in WNBA history next season.
Caitlin Clark is already one of the most dominant players in women's basketball, but what if I told you that playing less in 2025 could actually make her even better? It sounds counterintuitive, but there's a strategic advantage that could change everything for her career. While other players are grinding through a full WNBA season and possibly overseas commitments, Clark may be stepping back, and that decision could make her even more unstoppable. Therefore, let's break down why this controversial approach could give her an unfair advantage over the rest of the league. One of the biggest challenges WNBA players face is the year-round grind. Unlike NBA players who have extended off-seasons to rest and recover, WNBA players often compete overseas in the winter just to maximize their earnings. This relentless schedule can lead to injuries, fatigue, and shorter careers. Caitlin Clark, however, may take a different path in 2025.
There was what Caitlin Clark did on her big day. She was surprised by the FIBA organization after a workout with a birthday serenade and the like, but it was the video that they shared of her workout that blew up everywhere, and that's because Caitlin Clark was knocking down threes. 50 of 54, according to the team on the post.
Instead of pushing through back-to-back seasons, reports suggest that she could be playing fewer games, managing her workload, and focusing more on targeted training. Therefore, while other players are exhausted by constant travel and heavy game schedules, Clark could be fine-tuning her skills and extending her longevity in the game.
We do forget that Caitlin Clark's numbers last season, she didn't have the greatest first 10 games. She wasn't bad in the first 10 games, but she had a near 1-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. Her percentages were all over the place.
Another key factor is injury prevention. Some of the greatest basketball players in history have extended their careers by managing their minutes wisely. LeBron James, for example, carefully picks his spots to maximize his effectiveness. If Clark follows a similar approach by playing less, she could avoid the nagging injuries that slow down other superstars. But the real game changer here is training efficiency. Imagine if Clark spends her off-season perfecting her already elite shooting, working on her defensive weaknesses, and increasing her strength instead of playing in non-stop games. Therefore, by the time the WNBA season starts, she wouldn't just be well-rested, she'd be a completely refined version of herself, ready to dominate at a level we haven't seen before.
One aspect of Clark's game that I wouldn't say was bad, but her percentage at three wasn't as high as it was the year prior at Iowa. Now, that a lot of that can be from going from one season to the next, obviously adjusting to the WNBA defenses.
This strategy isn't just theoretical. We've seen players in other sports benefit from similar approaches. NBA stars like Kawhi Leonard and Joel Embiid have used strategic rest to extend their primes. Therefore, if Clark takes fewer games and more time to focus on development, she could set herself up to peak at just the right time, year after year. But not everyone will be happy about this. Other WNBA players won't have the luxury of playing fewer games. Many of them rely on overseas contracts to earn a living, meaning they'll be facing exhaustion while Clark stays fresh. Therefore, this approach could give her an unfair advantage, not because she's breaking the rules, but because she has the flexibility to train and rest in a way others don't.
It is silly how good of a shooter Caitlin Clark is. But to be fair, obviously, I think there are more players in the WNBA that can do this in a workout. I don't think this is unique. Not that it's 50-54 is crazy. That's 93% through 50, which is madness. That's a serious number. That is a serious number, and I'm not sure how long it would take any shooter in the WNBA to do that.
Another aspect to consider is league perception. If Clark is able to maintain elite performance while playing fewer games, it could set a precedent for future WNBA stars to prioritize their own development over constant play. Therefore, this could be a turning point in how top women's basketball players manage their careers moving forward. However, this strategy comes with potential risks. If Clark plays fewer games, will she struggle with chemistry on her team? Could she miss out on crucial in-game experiences that only come from real competition? Therefore, while this approach has clear advantages, it also raises questions about whether it's truly the best path for long-term dominance. If Caitlin Clark successfully leverages this approach, it could force the WNBA to rethink its scheduling structure. Currently, the grueling season with limited breaks forces players to push their bodies to the limit. If Clark thrives by playing fewer games, it could push the league to adopt load management strategies similar to the NBA. Moreover, this could shift contract negotiations for future players. If Clark's strategy proves successful, agents and players might push for contracts that allow for more rest and individualized development time. Therefore, what starts as a personal decision could evolve into a league-wide shift that changes the way the WNBA operates. A player of Clark's caliber doesn't just impact the game, she influences the business of basketball. If she takes a more strategic approach to playing fewer games, sponsors might still flock to her brand regardless. Therefore, we might see a shift where marketing dollars follow the most effective players rather than those who play the most games. Additionally, media coverage could intensify around big matchups featuring Clark. If she's playing fewer games, every appearance becomes an event. This scarcity could drive ratings and increase demand for WNBA broadcasts, further elevating the league's overall exposure. If Caitlin Clark finds massive success through a reduced playing schedule, other stars could begin following suit. Younger players entering the league may consider prioritizing rest and development rather than grinding through as many games as possible. Therefore, this could fundamentally reshape the way WNBA careers are managed in the future. The reality is, Caitlin Clark is in a unique position. She has the ability to structure her career in a way that maximizes her strengths while avoiding the pitfalls that have derailed other stars. But if she chooses to play less in 2025, it will undoubtedly spark debates about fairness, competition, and the evolving nature of women's basketball. Therefore, the real question isn't just whether this strategy will work, it's whether other players will have the same opportunity. If Clark proves that less is more, will the WNBA adjust its structure to allow more players to manage their workloads? Or will this be a luxury that only a select few can afford? The future of the WNBA is changing, and Clark could be leading the charge in a way that no one saw coming. But whether this shift will benefit or harm the league remains to be seen. One thing is certain, Caitlin Clark is rewriting the rules, and the rest of the league will have to keep up.